gonna be alright. Just think, I'm the lady who passed by the gate every day.
It's amazing, and inside of a minute, you know, like a brief passing, yeah, going to see so and such and such, whatever sparked the conversation. You gotta be on my radio show. What the hell did we say? What did I say?
What did you think?
What did you
said she gonna be on my radio?
Yeah, what did you think? What came to your mind?
Oh yeah, of course, I'm ready. Done.
Because you were already responsive. That's what we talk about. You're responsive to already what she was going to say before you even said it.
I'm going to 175 enclaves. What did I say after that?
He was in a freeze. He was in the freeze. He was like, la la la. I said, go ahead. You don't need to pass. Just go. But now they're so getting strict over there with the passes. He just takes anyway, so I'm gonna make us fired. They're voting the guy out anyway, the guy who starts the passes, because you know what, Doc G? You know the police business. If you got a camera, you got 6 cameras, right? You're looking at inside me, right? And then you got a computer where you look them up, and you know who's on the family list, yada yada yada. There's no need for a pass. There's just no need. It's a waste of the earth. You know what I'm saying?
Out on the street, looking good.
No.
Oh, that's too high.
James Taylor.
No, no.
Let's do
Janice. Okay, well. Go.
You got a friend when you're down and trouble, and you need a helping hand, right? Isn't that how it goes, Doc?
Oh, nothing's going
right. Oh, we gotta get ready. Come on.
Okay.
Okay. So, you're gonna come on this side. Actually, you know what? We should have him on the side because he's got the guitar, right?
If wherever you want him to put it.
Wherever you
I gotta
think.
switch.
Yeah, we good.
It's no big deal. I can do that.
You're in the boss's chair, brother.
Oh. Okay. All right, can I work?
Wherever you want.
Am I a little ham
How
or
about
what?
right here?
I'm Doc G's little ham.
As long as
Doc
I-
G's
I-
got
I just-
twins.
I don't want to hit you in the face with the.
That's all you gotta do, brother.
Yeah,
I love him.
We can set it up any way you want.
Actually,
Hold
put
this
him over
like
here.
that?
Yeah, use that one microphone. You can use the headphones.
Okay, and I don't.
All right.
I just need this, right? I'm good over this
And
way.
then you can use this microphone for your guitar.
Okay.
Yeah,
It
I don't
actually
need to
picked it
have.
up, huh?
Yeah, it sounds good.
Here, Doc-
Sounds
here-
really good. 'Cause
here,
it's not
Justin.
overdone.
Here you go.
Okay, can I do a test song real quick?
Yeah. You
Yeah.
got time.
Oh, and I can hear it here.
Yeah.
Yep.
Should be able to.
And Doc G, show me
Let me
how
put
to
yours
go
on.
on the public thing.
Yeah. How
Hold on, let me
amazing.
take all the mics off so we don't echo first.
Okay.
Okay, 3 and 4's off. Now 5, 6, and 7.
All right.
Yeah, you can talk.
Okay, let me face that. There we go.
Try your
Okay, I'm on public.
good.
From the time I woke up early this morning till the time I should have been in bed. All this time I'm trying to write a warning just to ease my aching head because I'm a freedom fighter. I take it very seriously. I'm a freedom fighter. The last one will be me. Oh yeah, and I repeat my words till my throat runs dry, but no one ever seems to wonder why. I can't save the world, but at least I try. But the people seem to think it's a lie because I'm a freedom fighter, taking more and more each day.
Can't be done, man.
All right, good, beautiful. All right, we're gonna start, guys.
Okay.
We're on Facebook and YouTube, so we're just recording here, and you introduce the show, Maureen, and your guest, and we're ready to go.
Okay.
3, 2, 1.
Okay. Hi, everybody. It's the Jersey Shore Angel Show. And my name is Maureen, and I'm your Jersey Shore Angel. I want to welcome you guys today, and happy February. So, my guest today is, I'm going to say, hold on a minute. He's tuning in now. Hold on, let me just get my page up. Bear with me, folks. Bear with me.
Share it with you once you're doing it.
Yep. Okay, so I'm make sure everybody can see. Okay, yep. Okay, so my first guest, I will tell you when to call in, Mr. Peter Panagore. And my second guest on my right is Justin Time.
How are you?
And they both will share amazing stories. So I would like my first guest to call in from Maine. Okay, so we're standing by for my first guest to call in now. right, so we're just standing by. Let me know, Gene, when he's calling in.
I'm waiting for him to call. Yeah.
Okay. So, also, tune in to February 13th, next show. We're having a Valentine's special. Yesterday, once more, tribute band's going to be here. That's my twin sister. This is her flyer. Okay, everybody. She is appearing on April 20th, 2019, at the 383 Veterans Boulevard in Bayville, New Jersey. For tickets, 732-644-3156. Or you can get them at the door for $25. But if you buy tickets now, it's $20, okay? Doors open at 5:15. So you don't want to miss this show. Also, I am her backup singer. Calling in?
Not yet.
Okay, so,
You know.
okay, so let me give you a little bit about my twin sister who has her Yesterday Once More tribute band. She is not an impersonator. She does what she does because she's a loyal fan. Okay, so everybody does what they gotta do, whether it's Elvis, whether it's Patsy Cline you want to have. So my twin sister is doing an awesome job with this, and I'm honored to be her backup vocalist. So congratulations to you, sister, on that. Okay, and
You're calling your phone.
okay, the guest is calling me. Hold on. You have to call the number on the screen.
Oh, you want me to put the number up?
It's coming up now. It's
put it-
coming up now. Okay, that was my guest, Mr. Peter Panagore. He's going to be calling in any minute. So anyway, I hope everybody's having a great day. We're enjoying this beautiful weather we're having. And so we have some nice guests coming up for 13th, the 20th, 27th. Tune into each one of my shows. We're going to find out what Justin Time has to say about his views and what he's learned about things going on in our world. And he's also a musician and songwriter. And we are waiting now for Mr. Peter Panagore, an author of awesome books. I have. Is he calling now?
Checking. Hold on. Not yet.
All right, let me close it down.
Yes, it's on right now.
Okay.
And you're live.
Hi, Mr. Panagore. Welcome to Jersey Angel Show. How are you? You're on the air, Peter.
Okay, he's on.
Hello.
Hi. Can you see
Hi.
me? Can you see your show? Can you see me?
I can. I was having trouble on the crawl. The crawl was showing halfway, and so at some point it loaded up, and I could see the number completely. And I'm with you.
Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Is it Panagore, right?
It is.
Okay. First of all, I want to welcome you to my show. Thank you so much. And you have 4 books out there, best-selling, or 2 best-selling. Is that it? Can you explain to us about your books?
Sure. The first 2 were anthologies. I had a story in each one of them. And the other book, the next book, is a collection of my TV work. It's a main bestseller. It's devotionals, 365 devotionals that grew out of the show that I had for 15 years here in Maine. And the second book is my near-death experience of how I died ice climbing when I was 20 years old in Alberta, Canada.
Wow. So, okay, so, Peter, we talked, you and I, we've been inboxing each other back and forth, and I'm like, well, I'm in awe right now because there's like so many of us out there. So I want you to explain what made you write that first book, the one that the Heaven.
Yeah.
The one, the blue book I just bought. What's the name of that book? I didn't bring it with me.
Heaven is beautiful.
That's
Heaven
it.
is beautiful.
That's the one I bought. Actually, I gotta read it because it's a lot of pages. But tell us about that book and what made you write that book. That was the first book, right?
Well, yeah. When I came back from my first near-death experience, on the very next morning, I froze to death, ice climbing. And the next morning, I found myself back in this world because I asked to come back. And I realized what a huge mistake that was. I should have stayed where my beloved lives. And the beloved, God, the voice,
Amen.
gave me a mission that I didn't want to have. And, and I didn't know I was going to get.
So great.
So
Go ahead.
from the day I came back, I was told to tell forth. And so I spent between that day and the day that Heaven is Beautiful was published, kind of publicly keeping it to myself. And I wrote the book in order to fulfill a portion of my mission, to be a light bringer for God. And so a bunch of people in New York City, where I was
Right.
associated with a network in what's called the God Box on the Upper West Side.
I heard of that.
I was writing grants to them to produce on-location television spots for my TV show in Maine, which was on 2 NBC stations. And I told them the story, and they
It's okay.
convinced me to put out my book trailer. They said to me, "We'll pay for your book trailer. We'll shoot this, we'll edit this, and we'll pay for this if you promise to write your book," which I hadn't written yet. So my book trailer was produced 2 years before my book was published, or even written for that matter.
Amen.
And that's why I wrote it, because they talked me into it.
Wow. Peter, can you do me a favor? I mean, I know it's tough, but trust me, you and I got the same thing in common, and Carla and everybody else. Can you share your story? Let's go back to when you were 20 years old. Share us that day and everything that you saw.
All right.
We're here. We're here.
I'll start people off by letting them know where I was and why I was there. I was a college student on exchange from UMass Amherst in the English department to Montana State University. I was there because I wanted to get away from my family back in the Boston area, because when I was 14, my sister ran away from home, and from our point of view, she vanished, and it broke my family up pretty badly, and I wanted to get away, so I went to Montana. And when spring break rolled around, I did not want to go back home. So I was an outdoorsman. I was on the National Ski Patrol. I was a backpacking mountaineer kind of guy. And I found through the Outdoor Club a man who wanted to go to British Columbia and Alberta and spend spring break backpacking,
Beautiful.
backpacking, yes, but backcountry skiing, living in snow caves for the majority of the trip, and then to do an ice climb on a world-famous wall. And I'd done a lot of snow caving in my life. I was a Boy Scout and did a lot of winter camping, and I'd done enough of outdoor stuff, so that sounded like a high adventure to me. So I went, but I'd never ice climbed before. I had technical climbed, rock climbed, but Tim was a lead climber, a certified lead climber, and so we went. And so I tried to gather all the equipment that I needed, and I was short one piece of equipment. I had one ice axe. I needed two. I had an ice hammer. I chose to use the ice hammer to make this 500 or so foot climb, and that decision slowed us down significally. There were probably 6 other teams on this wall that day. We were not alone. It was pretty close to the Icefields Parkway next to the Saskatchewan River that runs right up the spine of Alberta. And it was 100 yards off the road. So we were pretty close. And so we began our climb, and because of my choice of equipment, we slowed our climb down because my muscles burned out faster. Because you can hang from an ice axe. You can plant an ice axe in the ice and let go of the handle and hang by the strap,
Yep.
but you can't do that with a hammer.
Oh, God.
So I exhausted myself early, and by the time we reached the top, hypothermia had set in. I'd been working at Bridger Bowl in Bozeman on the ski patrol that year, and I had quite a number of opportunities to pull people in with hypothermia. And we began with what's called clattering jaw, and that's when your jaw slams up and down fast and fast and fast like a cartoon, only you can't control it. And the sun set and the temperature dropped, and we were in serious trouble, and we both knew it. And we had consumed all our food, and we didn't bring up anything to spend the night because it was a day climb.
Right.
So we were in a bad situation, and we made, I'll cut to the chase
Go ahead.
in a moment. We made a few other errors along the way as we decided that we were going to die.
Right.
And we were going to try to save our lives by moving ahead. Either we were going to die lying there trying to stay warm together, or we were going to die moving. So we decided to move and made a few minor errors as we went through our 3 rappels. And at the bottom of the first rappel, hypothermia got worse. And by the time we got to the top of the second rappel, we had progressed significantly, and by the time we were at the very top of the last rappel, where the rope got stuck, we had advanced in our stages to getting warm, and which is right next to falling asleep and dying.
Oh.
So I had the rope. We were standing on a ledge. And it was just before dawn, a few hours, I don't know, 3 hours. I wasn't paying attention to the time. I was trying to survive, and it was not easy.
No.
But I got warm, and I unzipped my coat, and the rope was jammed around the corner. I tied one end of the rope to my harness and tossed off the other end to pull it through the ring, but it jammed immediately, which stuck us there for hours. And so time passed as I tried to free the rope, and the cold got deeper, coldest nearest the dawn as it is. And, I began to fall asleep. And as I fell asleep, I would fall, collapse, and strike the rock and pull myself back up. I was on a harness that
Right.
was pinned into an iron ring in the mountain. The harness wasn't mine. It was a strap harness, was connected to the mountain, and I had my own harness on my body, clicked to the one that was permanent on the mountain. And
Right.
I would collapse and fall and hit the stone and wake up and stand back up again because it hurt to hit the stone.
You're
and,
fighting to stay alive.
Well, yeah, and pull the rope and try to free the rope. And then I pulled myself back up this last time. Peace, I should tell you, peace had already settled into me by this point. I knew
Amen.
that I was going to die.
Yep.
I knew that my parents were going to lose another child, and there was nothing I could do about it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I turned my heart to peace, and I
Yes.
focused on God.
Mhm.
I had been a born-again Christian before this in my life.
Amen.
And I accepted my fate. And as I stood up this last time after falling and waking up, I saw my peripheral vision like the end of a Porky Pig cartoon where the fade to black
Yeah.
comes in as a circle, and it advanced really rapidly around the peripheral edges of my perception, my visual perception, my eyes.
Right.
And it narrowed down to a single slot. And as I watched it, I wondered what was going on, and I didn't understand it. It was something new to me, and it closed off to black, and I collapsed, and I felt myself fall, and I didn't feel myself hit the rock. And I thought, I didn't hit the rock. I'm still conscious. Why am I not asleep? Why am I not awake? Why am
Exactly.
I not standing? What's
Yep.
going on?
Mhm.
And my entire interior horizon opened like a lens opening, and way in the far distance was a conscious being of light, energy, soul came at me at faster than the speed of light from a great distance and filled my entire interior visual horizon and communicated to me that it was taking me. And it was without language or words. It was direct communication to my soul inside myself, my
Right.
body and my spirit. And I refused, not knowing what was going on, I refused with all of my willpower that I placed up as a barrier, which turned out to be ineffectual. And the now I call angel of death took me without my willing it. And
Wow.
the next thing I knew, in an instant of, almost an instant of thought, I was in a greater illuminated darkness, an eternal, infinite space of non-being where I had no more body or spirit, and I was like an orb of consciousness, larger than my body could contain, my physical body, and I was unafraid. And everything I say is metaphorical.
Yeah, at
And,
that point, you're just like
I'm-
so peaceful. You're not worried about nothing.
Well, I wasn't worried. That's right. I was totally at peace and at ease and unafraid, and I was confident in myself, even though I didn't understand myself. And I could see in every direction at once, only there was nowhere, nothing to see. It was in the middle of the great sea of non-being, of eternal emptiness, which was not empty of in a negative way. It was just illuminated darkness.
then
And
Go
I
ahead.
knew it was timeless, and then I saw a portal open like a gigantic door, and I could peer through this new opening, this tear, this rent, and the surface was sort of translucent and transparent at the same time, and I could see this tunnel, and it's extended way deep into infinity, and I was welcomed in, and I put up my being, and I touched the surface, and it was living, and this living energy of flow
Wow.
flowed into me and infilled me, and all this happened all at once. And I knew that I was known, and I knew that there was nothing about me that was unknown. I knew that I'd always been known. I knew that I was a created being in the presence of Creator, and that the long tail of my everlasting soul extended back to the place of the calling of me into being by name, but it wasn't Peter. It was the name of my soul, which is unpronounceable to me here.
Wow.
And I knew that I was beloved, and I
Yeah.
went through all of the pain that I'd given everyone in my entire life, only it turns out I gave the pain to myself,
Yeah.
and I experienced all the pain I gave away times 10,000 times what I thought I had given away, and only it was to me, and it was like a sequence of events that I experienced rather than just saw, and also felt all of and thought about all of my justifications and reasons for causing all the pain that had ever been mine to give intentionally or unintentionally. And I was shamed. I was ashamed, not simply because of the sins that I had committed of causing pain to other living beings and thus giving it back to myself again, but because I was in the utter presence of eternal love, who was as yet outside me, speaking to me, saying to me, infusing me with this fire of burning love. I love you. I made you. I know you. I've always known you. You are my creation. You are my
Wow.
beloved. I forgive you. I forgive you. And I saw all of humanity's sinful, broken nature as in proportion to each other equal, in comparison and disproportionate to the purity of the divine being, only in whose purity is no wounding, only love and being. And I was infilled with this combination of love and joy, truth, knowledge, beauty, compassion, understanding, wisdom, all of these things, these spiritual gifts, times 10 million times we could ever imagine them, but they were all one thing. And beauty, and the one thing they were all love. And even though I experienced them both as love and as oneness and as the separate things that I saw on earth, that the treasures of the heart. And
Wow.
so then I was like infilled to overflowing with adoration and bliss and heaven within, that was leaking at the edges of my huge soul self, the consciousness that I was, and I understood everything that I needed to understand, and anything that entered my mind, I knew instantaneously to a level of knowledge I can't even tell you, except for that my brain wasn't in the way of my thinking.
Peter,
And
if
Yes.
I may ask you, you and I know, but I know what you're trying. I know what you're saying, and it's the truth. No one will understand the love that we felt. That it's greater than, and I'm gonna put it out there, okay? It's greater than love making. It's greater than having a baby. The love that I felt when I was in heaven for a couple seconds when my spleen ruptured was so great that I didn't want to leave. And I still want to go back. Took me a while.
I'm with you.
Huh?
I'm with you. I'm
There
with
you
you
go.
100%. And everyone, they will find out when they die. You
Yes.
keep your heart turned to the light. You keep your heart aimed at the
Yes.
divine. You keep your soul with a single eye pointed toward God, who is love, and then you will know
Heaven is for real, folks.
on the day you die.
Yep. Heaven is for. So, what was the message he gave you?
Oh well, I'll continue on a little
Go
to
ahead.
help you.
Go ahead, Peter.
To say is that, so I said to God, am I dead? And God, the voice. Okay, so this is a non-gender, voiceless, soundless, wordless, telepathic communication beyond faster, brighter, better than any words I've ever conceived of. And I said, am I dead? And the voice says, yes, you're dead. I said, well, I can't die now. I said, voice says, why? I say, and I knew I was in the utter presence of God. The voice says, well, I couldn't see. I could see everything else, but I couldn't see that. And the voice says, well, why? I say, well, because my sister vanished and my mom is broken and my dad's hurting and things are terrible with my mom and my dad, and I can't take another child. And in the moment of a thought, I was swept, and I saw every human being on earth all at once, every single one of them. And even in their suffering, they were covered with a veil of blindness. And that and it was communicated to me directly that in the way that I love you now, you know, Peter, this, although it wasn't Peter because I can't say my name,
No.
my soul name. You know that I've always loved you from the moment that I created you. And because of my love, you now know that all has been well, is well, and will be well for every human being who I love, and I love them all.
Wow.
And because of that love, your parents will be well when they die. When they come here, you know their wellness will be taken care of, and that all suffering will end for them. And so come and stay. Stay. And I said, I can't. I've got this other commitment. And I was leaving in a theater company. I'd been in rehearsal for a year,
Right.
and an academic year. And I made a promise, and I said, and there was no reply from the divine. And I said, I haven't gone through that, the portal. Do I have to go? And the voice said, no, you don't have to go. I want you to come, but you don't have to come. And I said, well, if I go back to Earth, to my body, can I come back here to this state of oneness and divine being, this presence of overflowing love that's infinite in size? And the voice said, yes, you can come back here and be infilled and be one with me. And I said, well, then I choose to live my life. And the voice said to me, you won't live your life, and sent me back
Wow.
And I was compressed and crushed and
Yep.
shrunk and folded and stuffed back inside my body.
Oh, so you woke up and then, so when you came, back from the other porthole back into to where we are now, what came over you when you woke up? Where were you?
I was confused. I was in pain because it hurt. Because suddenly I went from having no suffering whatsoever to being completely in pain.
Yes.
And a lot of the pain wasn't just the physical pain of my frozen body.
Right.
It was just being in the world itself.
Depressed. You want to
It was
go back to the love.
Well, yeah. It was even before that happened. It was just entering back into this crude, crass, broken, less than holy, pure, divine place
Yeah.
that causes suffering merely by its purely being.
Yeah.
And so then I was befuddled and bewildered and confused, and I slowly came to in this body that I had to learn to use again, and couldn't use well because it was frozen, and so it didn't move well, and I perceived this noise, and I didn't know what it was, and I saw this face, and I didn't know who he was, and I got helped up, and I stood, and it was my partner Tim, screaming at me as I finally came to my senses. You were dead. If you die, I die.
Aw.
And so after some period of readjustment, because I was completely bewildered on where I was or what was going on.
Of course.
And I pulled the rope, and the rope came free, and we descended, and we self-treated for till sun came up in the tent with hypothermic. You know how you treat hypothermia. You bring
Sure.
your body up, temperature up slowly, and then you
That's
go
right.
for heat. And so eventually, once we brought our heat up, we went into the car. And then my life was never the same from that day on.
No.
And go ahead.
I can, that's why I'm so happy that you're on my show, and I'm happy that, we found each other. And I could tell you, brother, I feel what you feel. Still, it haunts me a little bit now, but I know that we have missions to do now. And you tell the world what you're doing, everything you're doing.
Well, I've spent as a result. So, God gave me this message, as I told you, and I
Yes.
stitched my lips shut because even though God told me that I was and spoke inside me like a freaking voice.
Yeah.
On that first morning, here's your thing. You have to bring the message. I said, no way.
No
I don't
way,
even
yep.
know how to say it. I can't even think about it. I have no context for it. How can I say what is beyond language? And so I changed my whole course of my life. And I went back to UMass Amherst, and I began my spiritual practices in depth. I'd been practicing centering prayer out of the Catholic tradition, which is from where I was coming from, had a Zazen technique to it.
Okay.
In the Catholic monastery near me in Massachusetts.
Oh, nice.
And and then I tell you the name. Maybe people know, maybe people don't. But and then I combined it with a yoga practice of deep prayer. And so I've had 40 years of deep prayer practice, combining breath and centering prayer in movement and in stillness in order to carve open a space inside myself to make more room for the divine.
Wow.
But in the meanwhile, I went to divinity school, and I studied the history of mysticism in the West at Yale, and I got my grad degree, and I got talked into I was going to be a professor, figuring I could train my way through life, hiding out in academia while I tried to figure out what had happened to me and learn languages to construct a way to think about it. And that's what I found in the scriptures, and I found in the mystics, is that there were people who went before me who had tool sets of prayer, who were mystical geniuses in the Christian church, who had divine, what they called beatific visions, that are recorded in books, and they tell how they, strip themselves down interiorly to allow more room for the light, and that's
right.
been my pursuit. So with that as a basis, I became an ordained minister in the United Church of Christ, and I served churches outside New Haven, Connecticut, and then I served a very rural island church off the coast of Maine that was a broken place full of hate and anger and recrimination, two churches, and we healed them.
Amen.
And moved on, and they're well. And then off to a resort town at Boothbay Harbor, Maine, and to the Congo Church here, Congregational Church here, where there'd been, unbeknownst to me when I arrived, almost 15 years of serious fiscal malfeasance and embezzlement. We, as working for God, we've discovered the perpetrator 8 years into my ministry after a terrible, terrible experience with a broken and wounded congregation lashing out like devils. And
Jesus.
they are now, not all of them, just enough of them.
Right,
Most
yeah.
of them were holy people.
Amen.
And the devils were making trouble for everybody. And
Yeah.
but when it's all healed, all's well that ends well. And
That's
then I
it,
ended
you
up
know,
in
that's it.
television.
So what else? What else
Having
do
a
you?
morning show for 15 years.
Oh wow!
for 2 minutes.
What's your morning show?
Telling, well, I Daily Devotions started in 1926 as the first radio parish church of America, and I was the fifth minister. And it's a Maine-based broadcast that reaches all corners of Maine and into New Hampshire, and has for 91 years. I had it for the last 15 years of its life, and I had 2 minutes every morning, which is the first book you mentioned. That's a collection of my early TV work.
Right.
I wrote 1,700 inspirational 270 word stories as kind of
Wow.
like I was kind of like the minister of Maine in the morning, in the middle of the morning news, bringing a good news of hope and inspiration
Bringing light,
to
love,
the entire
yes.
audience.
Wow. I mean, so Peter, where can everybody find your books at? I mean, online, so they can buy them and they can find you.
Amazon, Barnes and Noble, peterpanagore.love.
Peter.
peterpanagore.love has all the links. The book is an Audible bestseller now.
Yes.
And I'm working on my third book. I've been
Woo-hoo!
working on it for a long time, and I finally I've got it well underway now.
Congratulations, Peter. We have I think Carla's on too. If Carla, you're on watching the show, call in and share your story with Pastor Peter here and Mo here. You know, I mean, I think there's a lot of people out there. You ever notice, Peter, that when we all just people that have tragic accidents have crossed over, I say crossed over, have the same story. Like I'm saying, you can't make this stuff up. You know what I'm saying?
No. There's 10. So I learned last year at this group called the IANDS group, the
Yeah.
International Association of Near-Death Studies.
Yes.
IANDS. You know them?
I've heard of it. Yes.
Anyway, anyway, I learned at their conference that 4.2% of the American population, that's 20 million people in the United States have had a near-death experience.
Wow.
Since the 1960s, when cardiac care changed everything. So here's this interaction between medical science, between science and spirituality that's playing out in the lives of tens of millions of people, maybe hundreds of millions globally. And so for the first time in the history of the world, there are hundreds of millions of us.
Unbelievable.
Who do we know in the Bible? There's
And probably
Lazarus,
depressed too.
and
And depressed. Off and on, but then you know what? You figure it out. Like, okay, I know I'm here. I know I'm back. I got to do my thing. I'll be back. You know what I'm saying? That's how
Yeah.
I looked at it.
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
when I came to, I was hurting in pain, ICU, and my mom had a lot of problems with me, and I knew I had to do what I got to do, and here I am. You know,
a new person,
a
born
new person,
again,
born again. Yep. Amen. Amen.
Life 2.0.
Like 2.0. Yeah, that's a good way of saying it. I like that. Anybody have any questions for Peter? Please call in. Let me ask you a question. I did want to ask you a question. Could I ask you a question? Why did, a couple of times this happened to me. I'd be sleeping 1 minute, and then I think it was a year ago, I saw myself sleeping next to my husband.
Oh yeah,
What is that?
you popped out of your body. That's an astral projection, believe it or not, or you can call it an better to say an out of body experience. So
So I was
when
traveling.
you die,
I was traveling.
when somebody dies, they leave their body, and so now it's kind of like, once you've got a nut on a bolt and it's a little rusted, and you
Yes.
hit it with some WD-40,
Yeah.
and then now it's loose. Well, that kind of happens to the soul once you die and you come
Ooh.
back. It's now you're a little bit looser in your body, and yeah, I popped out of my body a bunch of times.
Yeah, and you know what? At that time when it happens, right, Peter? It's like, I'm like, oh, hey, that's me down there. Cool. And you're like, you're not like, no fear. Again, no fear. It's like
No fear.
It's like you don't care how you get back, but you're just looking around like, and all of a sudden it's like Dorothy, boop, back in the body. We got a
Because
call.
That's who you really are.
Peter, we got a
you know?
call. Stay there, Peter. We got a call. Hello, you're on the air, Joyce
Yeah.
your angel. Hello, you're on the air, Joyce your angel.
Hello.
Is this Carla?
Oh, yes, it is.
Carla,
Hi, you
this is-
beautiful, wonderful, blissful being you.
Thank you. Carla, can you share quickly with Peter and me your experience?
Yeah, I was in an automobile accident where I went down a 20-foot embankment, and I ended up I literally died 3 times and went brain dead, and I was in a coma for 3 months. So everything you're saying, I can totally relate to. For me, ultimately, first, it was an act of surrender and really just letting go. And once I did, like I always had a light over my shoulder,
Amen.
but then I went into the light.
Yeah.
And
Mm.
like you, I had a choice.
We all did.
Like, yeah, I could have stayed or come back, but I'm like, my choice was, life wasn't about what I had done, but what I hadn't done and what I could bring back. And I wanted to bring back that love.
Wow.
So my
Ooh,
mission
with chills.
is integrating what I felt there here under this earth. And I do a lot of soul level healing and guidance. And that's my journey. So,
Carla.
and knowing that we could have all that here and now,
Carla, did you
and
go
just
through
walking
depression?
in that presence.
I'm sorry. Carla, did you go through depression too?
It was more, yes, because
Yeah.
you got to figure, I had to learn how to walk, talk, do everything all over again.
Yeah.
And I was very confused because when I first woke up, like I was walking in the spirit and the flesh
Yes.
all at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. And so
Wow.
I kind of did, and none of it made sense. And there was times that I wondered if I wasn't going crazy.
Nope. You just went home. That's all. You went home. We visited God's house.
And then, right. And then it was, again, that initial act of surrender came in. That's why when he was talking about breath work,
Yes.
that is so important, and my daily devotions and being in that service. And when I'm in spirit and in service, everything goes. I have no pain, no.
Wow. Do you have any questions for Peter, Pastor Peter?
I guess that would
No,
just
but
be it. Go ahead, Peter.
I'm sorry. Please, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I just asked on the chat line, do you, remember, everything seemed to be mixed? It was, simultaneous.
Oh, yeah. It was.
Yeah.
I tell it in, a sequence, but that's not the way it happened.
Right.
No, for sure. It was all timelessness. And as for depression, too, I went through a decade of depression after, too. Feeling lonely and isolated and not knowing anyone else like me in the world. And
Right.
not knowing who to talk to. And I loved your mission, Carla. I loved your mission. It's like we all come back with the same mission, but it manifests differently for each of us.
To share
But it feels
to
like
share
the
his
same
yep.
mission to me.
Amen.
Yeah.
Wow, this is awesome. Anybody have any other questions? Do you want to call in? 'Cause we're going to take our next guest. Peter, Carla, my sister and brother. My goodness. We got to keep doing it out there. Keep sharing God's love and everything that he has told us on that moment in time and what we're learning now. I just know that time when I was there, I feel you guys. It's like it didn't make sense, but now it does. Now it does.
Yeah.
Anybody have any questions before we get to the next guest? Carla, thank you so much for calling in, beautiful.
Oh, you're welcome. Love you guys.
We love you too. Peter, any last questions? Again, Peter, where can they find your books and what do you have upcoming?
Book is available at peterpanagore.love, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, other places. And I'm working on my third book, and I'll tell you what that title is. I'm going to pop it up here on my screen.
Sure.
So I don't forget. It's a working title. Anyway, that's kind of the way it goes in these things. It's You Don't Need an NDE to Be Spiritually Transformed by God. Practical Tools for Becoming a Channel of God.
Oh, I can't wait for that one. I'm excited for that
That's
one.
perfect. I
Yes.
tell everybody we all go through a near-death experience, you know?
Yes.
Because we have to really die to self and get into that presence,
Yeah.
and then everything makes sense.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, die to self.
Wow. So you guys got to add each other too now.
Oh yeah.
Hooray,
I can do
okay.
that.
All right. Well,
I'll do that
Peter.
right now, Carla.
Pastor,
Okay.
Pastor Peter, I want to thank you so much for joining my show, and hopefully, maybe in the near future, you come back on. Okay? If you're ever in New Jersey, stop by. I want to
Thanks, I will.
thank you so much, and continue to be my
Thanks
friend
for
on
having me.
Facebook. I love you, brother. I love you, sister in Christ. I love you.
Love
God bless
you.
you both, and
Love you
thank
guys
you for
too.
tuning in to the Jersey Assurance Show, ladies and gentlemen. That is Peter, Pastor Peter Panagore, and please look up his
Yeah.
Panagore. Yes, look him up. You're awesome. Thank you so much, Pastor. God bless you.
So are you too, Jersey Shore Angel.
Thank you both. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. All right, I'm going to turn my mic. I'm blown away, but I'm not shocked because I went through this myself, and it's like they just, you just take what you've learned from your inner out-of-body experiences, your also life experiences, follow the Lord's missions, just keep going out there, be positive, okay? And that was awesome. And then definitely want them both back on my show. Definitely. All right, I'm going to turn my mic over to my next guest. His name is Justin Time. Justin, take it over. Tell them who you are and why you're here on my show today.
All right. Well, I'm 66 years old, and I got a lot of insight into what's going on in the world. And
Well, you're a musician.
yeah. But I never got very far with it. But there's a whole board in the face of my guitar from me strumming it so much.
We were
So,
jamming out, people, before we came on the air. We were singing, having fun.
Yeah, that's what I do. I play guitar every minute I get a chance, even though, I didn't. Anyway, but besides that.
Okay, so you tell us what is your worldviews, and you tell me that you do 14 hours research a day.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's where it worked out to. I surprised myself on YouTube. You can look up and see how much time you spend on the tube, and oh boy, yeah, 14 hours. But I leave the TV on all night. I'm always looking for good stuff. Basically, Truthers is
Go
where
ahead.
I'm at, and well, let me give
If
you.
you would come a little close to the mic.
Okay,
Thank
let
you
me
so much.
Let me give you a little history. Basically, when I was like 8 or 10 years old, I thought, if I read the encyclopedia, I'd know all there was to know. It was an older world book of knowledge. It only went up to like 1955. But then it was only 1959 at the time. And they were going door to door selling new encyclopedias. And somehow they talked my mother into trading my old ones in for the new ones. And the new ones were majorly distorted. The first books talked of Nazi Germany and lies, how they lie to the citizens, and false flags, when they blow up something and say, hey, they did it, go get them, and they were giving fluoride to the prisoners. And he also talked about the future of running the world on water. In fact, there was a guy, Stanley Meyer, invented a spark plug that would burn water. And he had a little dune buggy he was driving around talking about. This guy was murdered and you never heard any more about it. But anyway, to keep on going, I was reading about Antarctica, and it was an ice wall, and it even mentioned a dome at 13,000 feet. I kind of questioned it because I was going to school at the time, and I was into the globe thing. Sorry to spring this on some people.
No, go ahead.
Okay.
Everybody needs to know what your
everything
views
was
are.
about the globe and going to the moon. And, Kennedy died, the Branch Davidians, Oklahoma City, Charles Manson. I mean, the world was changed by all these events, one after another. And I find out they're all false flags, except for Kennedy, I guess, dying. But I looked older then. I was like 15, and I played guitar in a band, and we played bars and colleges, so all my friends were much older. And I learned about Vietnam and the mandatory draft, and I only thought I had 3 years left to live. Since Kennedy died, things changed a lot. He gave this speech that I remember, I watched. He said, we are being seized upon by a ruthless conspiracy that uses covert means to gain influence, and guerrillas by night, and I'm a young kid, I thought there'd be guerrillas running down the street, But anyway, he was assassinated soon after. He also said, we're gonna go to the moon and the other things, 'cause they are hard, right, and anyway. One of the most, I learned all of this stuff was predicted, later in life, and even the events like World Trade Center and the Oklahoma City bombing, if you fold up the dollar bills that were before that time, you can see these things. They actually put it on the dollar bill in the art. It's amazing. You'll see it online if you look it up. But anyway,
So what have you learned, Pete? Like in your research, like what's the latest? Tell us about the chemtrails.
let me bring up to this.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. I found out that every stinking thing that you were taught in school is a lie. Everything that you know, just turn it around. It's the opposite, the exact opposite. What they're trying to do is hide God. That's basically to sum it up. First off, everybody in the world is hypnotized. Anybody that can't get a grip on knowing that the earth is flat, this is the first most basic thing you got to get in your head. If you shoot a cannon straight up into the air, the ball is going to come straight back down on your head. And that's a fact. No one can argue that. Okay, now if we're spinning at 1,000 miles an hour, do the math yourself. You shoot the ball up, it's going to come back down 8, 10 miles later, in 30, 40 seconds.
Feel free to pop on, Doc G.
If you want to argue, but it's silly. If you don't, just go online and look up 200 proofs we're not on a spinning ball, and now you got a basic. Now, all this stuff, when I read in the encyclopedias and stuff, when they came up with the new ones, and everything that they said that, would be changed has been changed. We're being lied to. We go to school. We're taught from little babies that, they put the globe in front of us and spin us. It's to hypnotize us. It's for them to have an agenda. And, well, what is the big thing that they're trying to hide? And unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, I don't know, but there have been many extinction events, and the last one was right around 1812. You hear, oh, it's just a war or something like that. We had not much to it, but it wiped out almost everybody. There was very few people left in the world, and there were the controllers who kind of knew about this, and they were prepared, and they went around taking out civilization after civilization. Once they were down, it was easy. There was an empire called Tartaria that consumed most of the world. It was a very happy place. They built all of these gorgeous places that you see in the history books, the most beautiful buildings from the past. They didn't build them all. Of course, there were some others that we have no idea. But we can look at the history of these buildings. Most of them are sunk down in the ground, like half a story or more. And anyway, people think that they're taught the truth in history books, and it's so far from that. Everybody is hypnotized and has no clue of the earth that they're on. And basically, like I said,
I agree. Everybody's like out there in their own little zone because they've lost they've strayed away from the faith, the Lord.
It wouldn't have to be faith because the truth is in front of us. They say, that we come from pond scum. Okay, I don't care how much you shake water or how dirty it is. You're not going to get living cells that reproduce no matter how many millions of years you shake it. And people can't figure this out. And the beauty of God and love is in everything you see, every living plant. Everything is so magical, but people can't see it. And that's where it comes. Blessed are those with eyes to see and ears to hear. And I was blind, and I snapped out of it, but I kind of snapped out of it using modafinil. This is a smart pill.
The smart drug.
Oh, yeah. It's hard.
Wait to hear this one.
Yeah. I found out about it, and they said that you can use this for treating ADD, and I figure, oh, boy, I got that. Every time I see a commercial, I got that, too. But it's called modafinil, and it was known as a smart drug. And I talked to my doctor. He said, oh, yeah, I'll order you some. But I couldn't get it. They wanted $1,200 for a month's supply and $750 for the generic and $260 if I give them cash under the table. The drugstore did this to me. Well, anyway, I ended up getting it from Mumbai, and I tried it, and it woke me up right away. It was so easy to see what was real and what was not. And the first kind of thing, I caught on to was flat Earth. It's hard for people to grasp, and I guess you kind of need a little bit of help to get it after being told since you're a child that, you're on this ball and you're spinning 1,000 miles an hour, and there's no space. All the satellites are fake. They're up on balloons if they do have them. We do. I can see the sun now, in my different eyes. I could see the sun coming towards me, If you look at it off in the distance, a little small ball gets real close. You see it, a giant, beautiful ball going over your head. At night, you look at the stars. I mean, if we were traveling through space, you would see some kind of parallax. You see one star go in front of another. You'd see some kind of motion, but there's none. The stars have been there since thousands of years. They got an astrolab, and this is when they make the maps, and they say, they didn't know how to make maps perfect.
Right.
There's a little astrolab. It's like a little computer you hold in your hand. You can tell where you are at any time.
If I may, Justin, if anybody has any, let's keep the comments to kindness, okay? Because that's what the world's lacking is kindness. I don't tolerate rude comments on my page, okay? This is a radio show, a well-respected radio show. You have any comments, please call in and talk to our guest, okay? I appreciate that. All right, so Justin, please go on.
Well, I love hate mail. No, all you got to do is the information is out there, but it's not going to be out there for long. I mean, they're censoring stuff now. They're censoring flat Earth. Yep. They're censoring. They're censoring everything Tartaria. They completely erased civilizations, the Egyptians and all that. In fact, from what I understand, all those stones that were on the outside of the pyramids had all kind of writing on them. So they were all torn off. But they're not laying around the sides. They did disappear. Somebody took them somewhere. But people are being hidden. The truth is just being hidden. And on top of that, just think about it. You work, say you make $1,000 a week. You give up almost 700 of that for water, which is free, electricity, which should be free. It is free. And the old civilizations 300 years ago had free electricity. That's why I had all those spires and stuff on their buildings. It's just nuts. People can't, it's not in the history books. This is all new stuff. In fact, they said Edison and Benjamin Franklin invented electricity, and it's so not true. Tesla, nobody ever hears of Nikola Tesla, and he's the one who got us electricity from
We'll get a call.
Niagara Falls.
Okay.
So, I mean, we getting everything. We have to pay for every single thing because it's metered. People don't even know that diamonds were just a regular gemstone, no big deal. They're so expensive, but there are millions of them. But one guy, some Freemason somewhere, bought up all the gold mine or the diamond mines, and now you get, all this color, cut, clarity, and all this. It's just so.
It's lab tested.
It's just garbage. Well, anyway, the whole thing is, every single thing that you think is valuable is not. There's plenty of everything. There's plenty of water, plenty of food, and things could be made much better. All this stuff, GMOs, they're just poisoning us. Any drugs they give you are poison. You take the drugs, and you will be addicted to them. And all the drugs that come in the country, the opium crisis, I see videos of our troops guarding the fields, and they're coming over. The army is bringing the drugs into the United States. And I did the math. It takes a tractor trailer load of drugs, all kinds, every single week in just our little area alone. Toms River, this small area. I mean, if you figure it out, how many. I figured 1 out of 10 does a gram. I did my math like that. And they gotta keep this stuff coming in, So it's big business. And then
Get it out, Justin. Get it out.
Yeah, and people, we pay $50,000 to keep a prisoner in a private jail. I mean, what kind of a taxpayer rape is that? We pay to put people there. People don't even know, If I say, well, we're going to put this guy in prison for 5 years for selling some pot, would you want to pay that? How much is that? My money coming out, I mean, you would think about things if you had a mind. But unfortunately, they're putting fluoride in the water. And the most important thing about fluoride, the thing the key that does, it blinds your third eye, which is your pineal gland. It calcifies it. So your pineal gland is like a little eye inside your brain. It's got a lens, a retina. It's got the cones and bars, just like your real eyes, but it sees a different light. Now, this kind of looks at the two halves of your brain, and it tells you, it gives you what to do. Insight helps you think things out. But now we have people without a third eye, and they can't think critically. Nobody can. It's in everything. You got to really try hard to avoid it. So and now that you got people so blinded, what can you do? And when I tell people about what I say,
They think you're crazy.
Oh yeah, everything is crazy. Mm-hmm. They don't have any sense at all of the hereafter or life. They believe all this crap, evolution. No, not once in the world has a fish crawled out of the ocean, and no bear just decided to pick up a book. And the things that they hid, the magical world that was like only 300 years ago. There were people like 14 feet high. I mean, we know giants. They had 6 fingers and double rows of teeth. These people were awesome. But they built some of these places that we wonder how it was done. They tried to spread the knowledge, but somebody got a hold of their technology and took them out, I guess. I don't know, that fact, there's a lot of things.
What's your input about 9/11?
Oh my God! Just think that everybody watched a
See, that's all I gotta
steel and glass building disintegrate in seconds and not get it. The thing went down like a Roman candle. I always wanted to build a little mock-up, of a metal and steel, fireplace and light the top of it, and just have it disintegrate to the ground in seconds. See that? There, the metal and boy, that stuff burns. I wouldn't want to live in a house made of metal and steel. Boy, that stuff's dangerous. Oh, building 7. Yeah, what about building 3, 4, 5, and 6? Yeah, and if you look at those, you look down from a helicopter point of view, they look like teeth with giant cavities in them. I mean, the metals were burnt out down into the ground. And the frames are standing around them, much like the Oklahoma City bombing. And I was young back then, but now I get it. And they had the Oklahoma City bombing depicted on the back of one of the dollar bills. You could fold it up a certain way. And then they had the 9/11 thing on the back of a 100 or 20, I forget what it was. But you can go online and see that. Look it up. But if you want to argue with me on any of these points, I got all these points from looking them up. You do the research, and it'll tell you the truth.
14 hours, what, a day?
Well, it just happens to be that's how long the TV's on. I can't
Right.
stop. When you watched 9/11, you couldn't take your eyes off the screen. You're like glued to it.
Yeah.
But here's a funny thing. I don't know, just to go back. When Kennedy was shot, us researchers all know that George Bush was in on it, and or whatever. But the point is, he doesn't remember where he was that day, and anybody that age remembers, and where you were when 9/11 happened. But George Bush, his father, Prescott Bush, nobody knows that. No, they don't know Marvin Bush, who was the security guy at 9/11, and they let all the guys in to put the bombs up and down the elevator shafts and whatever they did. But this Prescott Bush, he was the part of the Federal Reserve, and he was also a senator and everything, and he funded Hitler's that army. That's where they got all that money to do all that stuff. And all these things. After the war was over, they brought all those scientists over here, and we're being. They are now in our government. They are treated better than we are. We are just a people farmed to them. And anything that they can think up to make money on us, that's what they do. They're polluting the water as fast as they can with the fracking. They're telling us, they're closing the borders. They're taking away our rights drop by drop by drop. We have censorship now. And if you don't start looking into what I tell you now, it's not even going to be available to you later. Wow. And then, Ford made the tanks for Nazi Germany. You open up the hood and you see a Ford motor in there. How bizarre is
I
it?
drive a Ford.
Well, it's okay, but the point is, I couldn't understand why they had why people were driving Volkswagens soon after the war. Hey, aren't they our enemies? Why are we driving these goofy-looking things? We have these grand cars with fins on them. Oh, man, look up the 1959 automobiles. They're the most beautiful things on the planet. They're chariots, every one of them. But the stuff we have now is so not. And the buildings that used to be built, we got nothing like that. Now we got basically slaves. Everybody is working harder and harder and giving up 70% of their income on every which way you can turn.
I heard that this morning too. Comedian Vic Potato just shared that. It's so sad that how people have to work all these jobs, and we're giving up our money to the politicians, I feel.
Yeah, you'd think that things would get easier. I know from what I do. I used to paint, and I had a crew. But then, I learned how to paint really fast, and I gave up all my guys. You don't need to tape everything off, and it just got to be
So
good.
you could save money.
Yeah.
Just to pay yourself.
Oh,
Wow.
jeez, yeah. Once you get good at something, you just get better and better. And of course, if you grow things, you learn to grow. Anything that you do, you get better at it. So why isn't mankind getting better at every stinking thing they do?
We're taking calls. Can anybody want to talk to Just in Time? We're taking calls right now before we end the show.
You want me to play
I don't, I mean, anybody
I'll
wanna
play
hear-
a song. Sure.
Yeah, play a song for everybody.
Okay, this is a song I wrote because, well, I
Let's
wrote
hear
this
it.
a long time ago for, I used to have a band.
Just in
and,
time writes and sings.
and we
Here we
had
go.
a band in
close to
LA
the
at the time,
Mike.
the Made in USA band.
Wow.
And, we got our copyrights and stuff, and I put this song out to get copyrighted. We had to write them out with note for note and all this back in the day. And, anyway, that song didn't come back, and I wonder why, but, well, here's the song. Up. From the time I woke up early this morning till the time I should have been in bed. All this time I'm trying to write a warning just to ease my aching head because I'm a freedom fighter. I take it very seriously. I'm a freedom fighter. The last one freely made. And I repeat my words till my throat runs dry, but no one ever seems to wonder why. I can't save the world, but at least I try. But the people seem to think it's a lie because I'm a freedom fighter. I take it more and more each day. I'm a freedom fighter. The more we lose, the more we pay. Yeah, yeah. And the animal farm is coming true. The pigs are really on the loose. That was my old version. It's a sad known fact that the good die young, so soon their memory fades away. If you stop and listen to the songs they sung, the words mean even more today. Oh yeah, I'm a freedom fighter. We're losing more than you know. A freedom fighter. Off the hell we go. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. A freedom fighter.
Hey, wow, that was awesome and original. All right.
Sorry for the little mistake.
Wow, that was awesome. That's just in time there.
All
right. All right, so we don't have any more calls coming in. Justin, I want to thank you for being my guest
Oh, thank you.
on the Jersey Shore Angel Show. And I want to thank you, Peter Panagore, Pastor, thank you so much. And Carla, thank you so much for calling in and sharing your awesome stories and true stories. And I want to just ask people out there, I'm sitting here watching the comments, man. I mean, love, not hate. That's the only thing I don't like hate, okay? I don't tolerate it. Listen, everybody has their views, okay? We're all allowed. That's what this country's about, freedom of speech, right? Tune in on the 13th. We're having a Valentine's special. Again, yesterday, once more, President's Tribute Band to the Carpenters, Sharon Priscilla, is appearing here, and I am her backup singer. She has a very beautiful, beautiful, haunting voice of Karen Carpenter, like Karen Carpenter. I don't want people out there saying she's doing this, doing that. You know, everybody does their own thing with their bands. Elvis Tribute Band, Cherry, I'll make an example, whatever, Garcia, whatever, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Everybody has their own thing, okay? And this is my sister's soul. She sings beautiful since 1974 when I first discovered she had a voice, and I told Sharon she was going to go all the way. Sis, you're going to go all the way. People, all I ask is love in your hearts, not hate, all right? God bless you all for tuning in. And I want to thank you for just joining my show every Wednesday. I'll be back on the 13th on a Valentine's special. God bless you, and God bless America. Love each other.